I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we delve into the enchanting world of Timmy's Dream. It is a heartwarming tale crafted by the remarkable Joyce Red Encizo. Drawing from her extensive experience as a special ed teacher to her deep-rooted connection to her hometown of Anna, Texas, Joyce brings to life the story of Timmy, a little turtle whose journey reminds us of the power within ourselves. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our team at Prime 7 Media for helping us put her in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers just like you at home to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Joyce, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me.
Timmy's Dream is a great story. I'm sure it's captured the hearts of many people, young and old. Tell us
Yes, it has.
tell us about your inspiration behind the book.
My inspiration has been for Timmy has been my inspiration for my life. It's my students. I've taught special education for 33 years, and I've learned more from the students than they have learned from me over the years.
Amazing, amazing. Let's give the folks at home an overview of what the story of Timmy's Dream is all about.
Well, Timmy thinks he can't do a whole lot, and he spends his life daydreaming about learning to fly. Well, Timmy's out one day complaining about he wants to fly, and everybody thinks that's pretty funny. And he's decided he's going to run away from home when all of a sudden he hears a noise and he sees a kitten who's fallen into the pond, and nobody can get that kitten out. But who swims better than a turtle? And Timmy manages to save the kitten and becomes the hero of the day. And he learns his lesson that whatever you can do may be the best that's needed in the situation.
Wonderful. Well, that is a great message for sure. The illustrations in the book are wonderful as well, from the front cover and throughout. Tell us a little bit about those pictures.
These were drawn by a man I met. He's a young man. He had 2 children at the time who weren't in school. So he was a stay-at-home dad while his wife worked. And then he worked on his art when he had a chance. Matt Gatlin. So he works as an artist, and that's what he does with his life.
Yeah, well, he did a great job on your book, so we're glad you two collaborated for sure. Have you envisioned this perhaps as like maybe a short film, a cartoon, animated work?
I would love that. It would make a great cartoon.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think a lot of children would really be inspired by it. Now, at your school where you work for 33 years, as you mentioned, in special ed, have you read Timmy's Dream to any of the children?
I have read Timmy's Dream to every child I've ever worked with, and they all love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yes.
Is this the first book you've written?
Yes, it is the first book I've actually written and published. I have many books written on paper at my house. I have many books in my head. This is the first one I've written. Many years ago, I came across a workshop that taught you how to self-publish on Amazon. So this is the first one I've been able to publish.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we're glad you did. Are you working on any others now that you've got the writing bug?
I have. I've been working on some friends for Timmy. I've been working on Maggie the magpie, who has an anger problem. I have Fernando the frog, who talks funny, so everyone's not sure they should play with him. And Otto the autistic otter, who has some communication issues.
So all of your characters have something that's a little different about them that perhaps they get teased about, perhaps they have a hard time at school with, but makes them a unique character in the end, I presume, right?
Yes, I'd like to tell you something about my special education students.
Sure.
They all have unique qualifications that they do something better than everyone. I've learned that the biggest thing I've learned is that nonverbal students have so much to say. We just have to learn how to listen to them. And you may be in a wheelchair and not have anything to say, but you may be everyone's best friend and be the most popular student at school because you're so so kind and so empathetic that you may be able to do nothing but sit beside someone and make everyone's day so much brighter.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, your students are lucky to have you. What are the age range of the students that you work with?
I've taught at several schools. I've always taught middle school to high school. High school has been my big passion, has been high
Hmm.
school.
Yeah. Well, they must
So
be very
9th to
proud of
12th
you
grade.
now that you're a published author, right?
Yes, they love to see my book and they all like to handle it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tell us about the process of writing Timmy's Dream. Was it all up here and all you had to do was put it down on the paper, or did it take a little while to work it out?
Mostly it was all up here and I had to get it onto the paper. Of course, there's some logistics and some getting it down how you want to have it down.
Mm.
But mostly it's all in my head.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And when you finished the book, who's the first person you gave it to and said, "Hey, take a look at this. What do you think?"
Well, believe it or not, when I was working on it, I had um, she would be my third cousin who
Mhm.
was having a baby shower for twins. So
Yeah.
she was the first person to receive it as a gift.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yes,
wonderful. That's wonderful.
yes.
And are you,
And my mother-in-law, I think, was the most proud of it. Um, and she was the most proud of it. I think she took it with her everywhere she went.
yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yes,
Now, you grew up in Anna, Texas. Is that your hometown?
yes, that's correct.
Tell us a little bit about that. Is that where you got your love of animals?
Oh, yes. My father, he was a military man
Mhm.
and convinced my mother, who was a Yankee, to move down to Texas.
Uh-huh.
And she didn't know what she was getting into, I don't think, but she quick became an animal lover. Her and I always had a pack of some kind of animals. We raised baby calves, we raised sheep and goats, chickens. I've raised rabbits that the kids managed to save from the dogs, and I've raised so many different kind of animals. Goats, I think, are probably my favorites, but calves are pretty nice too.
That
And
sounds great.
we've always had a big pack of dogs.
Yep, yep. And apparently you grew up in like a multi-generational family?
Oh, yes. I never could stand to move away from my parents, so we just
Mhm.
moved a little bit down the road.
Awesome. Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. It's great to have a tight family. Family is
Yes,
indeed the most important thing. And so you had a bunch of animals growing up. You had calves, you had rabbits. That
yes.
that's great.
Chickens, goats. We tried the
Yeah.
sheep and the pigs. I didn't care for the sheep as much as the other animals. The pigs were not my favorite. My mother enjoyed those.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the goats and, of course, the dogs and the cows.
Yeah. You got to enjoy the dogs as well. If you have a farm, you got to have dogs. Now, you said your
Right.
mother was a Yankee. Where up north was she from?
She was from Chicago.
Okay. Gotcha. Did you travel up to Chicago with her from time to time?
No, I stayed where I was.
Yeah. Wonderful. How did you get into teaching? When did you start doing that?
I don't know. It seemed like the natural place for me. I remember being in first grade and the teacher putting me with the student who had trouble reading in the class.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And it just seemed to grow from there. Uh, I remember going to church camp and they took us out on a boat. This was many years ago. And one little boy was scared in the water. And I remember convincing him to let go of the side of the boat and hold my hand.
Hmm.
So it just seemed like I always was attracted to the kids who needed the help.
Yeah.
And that just
Well,
seemed to be where I went.
well, they're lucky they have you in their lives because you're empowering them with a great example and great care and great concern. And now you've put out there a great book that's going to help a lot of kids understand themselves and understand others a little bit better. The name of the book, it's called Timmy's Dream. It reminds us of the simple yet profound truths that are found within the pages of this book. It's a story of dreams, reality, and the inherent power within all of us, inspired by the dedication, a lifelong dedication of a teacher. Joyce, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed this.
I enjoyed it as well. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.
Thank you, everyone.